7th terrorist attack in Israel was the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust.
An immeasurable amount of human suffering.
Pleading for his release, family has learned that their son was killed.
An Israeli rabbi who went missing in the United Arab Emirates.
I will love you and I will miss you every single day.
Israel is in a multi-front war. 200 Iranian ballistic missiles launched.
Showing that anti-Semitism has reached a tipping point in the
Police have declared a firebombing attack on the Odessa Israel synagogue in Melbourne.
And hate-fueled attack on Israeli soccer fans and
universities must hold them accountable, and putting Jewish students at risk and targeting one group for harassment and intimidation is a violation of any student code, and there has to be accountability.
Donald Trump will be the 47th president of the United States.
The United States has split with its European allies at the United Nations.
Russia has launched a massive missile and drone attack over Ukraine.
High-stakes phone call between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
After the downfall of Syria's regime,
the fragile ceasefire in Gaza unraveled.
It is not clear how long this tentative truce will hold.
Hopes for peace, but there is much peril here.
We need the entertainment industry to say anti-Semitism, no forms of hate or bigotry are welcomed, are allowed.
The only way to fight anti-Semitism is 24/7, all year round, every single day, and make it a priority.
We've held meetings for hostage families with over 500 leaders in Congress and around the world. Their story has to continue to be told so that we can be sure that their loved ones are brought home.
Introducing AJC Center for New Middle East, an extension of the work that we've been doing for decades to advance Arab-Israeli understanding.
Please welcome AJC President Michael Tickner.
Good evening, and welcome to AJC Global Forum 2025. It is so good to see all of you and to be together once again. Gathered here today, we are more than 2,000 AJC leaders, Jewish communal partners, and friends and allies from across the United States and around the world, from over 60 countries. After the harrowing events of the past 18 and a half months since October 7, 2023, it is truly powerful to unite as one community, to draw strength from our collective Jewish pride and resilience, to continue working side by side to shape a new future for the Jewish people and the State of Israel. It is unimaginable that today is the 569th day in captivity for 59 hostages still held by terrorists in Gaza. 2 weeks ago, many of us gathered around our Passover tables, but we could not truly celebrate because they are still not free. And though we continue to pray for their release, they have yet to be reunited with their loved ones. The Jewish people will not be whole until every last hostage is home. We must bring them home now. And the American Jewish Committee will not rest until they are. Since October 7th, as the global advocacy organization for the Jewish people, AJC's entire global operation has mobilized to respond to surging anti-Semitism and unprecedented assaults on Israel's legitimacy. Wherever Israel and the Jewish people are needed, AJC was there. At last year's Global Forum, we were 8 months into the war, with the wounds of October 7th still very raw. Almost a year later, though in some ways it feels like a lifetime has passed, much remains the same. The difficult reality for Jews around the world continues. Anti-Semitism remains alarmingly high. Jewish students are still targeted on campus. Israel faces attacks on multiple battlefields and on the international stage. In all our home countries, we also face distinct challenges. Here in the United States, our politics feel more polarized than ever as we grapple with real questions about the state of our democracy and the impact of political decisions on our community. 8 months since October 7, as we face an ever-growing list of challenges, I can say with full conviction that I have never been more grateful to be part of AJC. I am incredibly proud of the work our professionals and lay leaders continue to do. Day in, day out, in the United States and around the world, boldly advocating with leaders to create a world in which Jews and Israelis thrive. As evidenced by the presence of Jews and allies from around the world in this room, the challenges we face are global, and AJC must continue to lead the global response. Our program over the next 2 days is not just a conference, but rather a culmination of AJC's global engagement with decision makers to enact policies that are not just good for Jews, but for our broader societies. Each of us will be active contributors to this vital work as we discuss pressing issues, advocate with diplomats, learn from thought leaders, and connect with fellow Jews and partners. And we will leave here feeling reinvigorated, empowered, and even more determined to take on the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. To each and every one of you here today and watching via live stream, thank you. AJC's global advocacy would not be possible without your engagement, your partnership, and your support. We begin this evening's program by focusing on the hostages. I am particularly proud of AJC's work since October 7 to elevate the voices of hostage families and former hostages with elected officials in the halls of power in Washington and world capitals. Every moment of hostages coming home, every embrace between returned hostages and their loved ones has brought tears to our eyes and strength to our hearts. Their light has helped move the Jewish people one step closer to healing. But they must all be set free and reunited with their families before our broken hearts can truly begin to heal. We will first hear Noa Argamani, a former hostage whose story has captured the hearts of the Jewish people and so many others around the world. It is especially meaningful for me to introduce her today. Last year, I stood on the Global Forum stage just 1 day after Noa was released by the IDF from captivity. Her return at that time brought an overwhelming sense of relief, hope, and unity to our community at a time of deep pain. To now welcome her in person is a moment of profound emotion and reflection. We will then hear from Adi and Yael Alexander, parents of Idan Alexander, and Ruby and Chagit Chen, parents of Itai Chen. Both are Israeli-American hostages still kept captive in Gaza. Noa, Adi, Yael, Ruby, and Chagit, in your tireless efforts to raise awareness and demand the release of the remaining hostages, please know that we all stand with you, always. We are deeply grateful that you are here with us today and willing to share your voices. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Noa Argamani.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Noa Argamani, and I'm really glad to be here with you today. Just over a year ago, nobody knew my name. My partner, Avinatan Or, and I came to the Nova Music Festival, a festival of love, peace, and community. As you know, on that terrible October 7th morning, we were taken hostage by Hamas terrorists. So at 6:30 in the morning, when the rocket started, we thought this is just another round from Gaza. This is how, when you grow up in the south of Israel, you get used to rocket fire your whole life. But as soon as we realized that it's not just a rocket fire, we got into our car, but the terrorists started shooting at us no matter where we turned. Suddenly, our car got stuck. We jumped out, running into the forest, all under rocket fire. We were hiding for hours until we discovered by a group of terrorists. One of the terrorists grabbed me, and I begged for him. Please don't kill us. They threw me into a motorcycle. I screamed to Avinatan because I didn't want us to separate. After a minute on the motorcycle, I was suddenly in the middle of Gaza. That was the last time that I saw my partner. In captivity, I asked about Avinatan everywhere I went. I had no idea if he was kidnapped or murdered. But I was afraid to know the answer. From the beginning, I was held with two little girls, Hila Rotem and Emily Hand. Emily was 8 years old, and Hila was 12. I had to be brave, not only for myself, but also for the girls. Hila and Emily were both released in the first hostage deal after 50 days. I watched them and two other women who was with me in captivity going back home to their family. As I will stay behind. I wasn't a part of any category that could be released. I can't even begin to describe what's the feeling to be the one that's left behind. After 54 days in captivity, it was just me, Itai Sbirsky, and Yossi Sharabi. Yossi was Eli Sharabi's brother. Eli Sharabi was released after 500 days in captivity. When he got back home, he discovered that his wife and his two daughters was murdered in October 7. Eli is a hero who's never stopped fight for every hostage. When I was in Gaza, bombs were falling all the time. We were in a war zone 24 hours. One evening, our house was blown up, and we were stuck under the rebels. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I thought, this is going to be my last second of my life. I pulled out of the rebels. Itai and I tried to help Yossi. But when we got him, it was already too late. I will never forget Yossi. He was a pure and kind soul. He will always be in my heart. Our guarder moved Itai and me to other house. But 2 days later, Itai was murdered by the same guarder. Itai was executed. Itai was with me since the first day in captivity. We told each other everything. I wouldn't have survived without him. May his memories be a blessing. From Itai and Yossi's stories, we can understand that in captivity, everything can change in a single moment. At any moment, we can lose our life. And I thought it was in front of my eyes. We cannot let it happen to anyone else. We cannot let it happen to Avinatan. From that moment, I was by my own with 5 filmed terrorists guarding me in the same house. I lived in fear every single day. I didn't want the guarder to suddenly lose control and kill me. All the terrorists there was armed with many weapons, knives and grenades. One mistake and all the entire situation could turn upside down. And I saw it happen. I was terrified. Every second felt like the last second of my life. On June 8th, the day I was rescued, the Israeli soldiers, including the hero of Nonpartisan, broke into my room and said, "Noa, we are here to bring you home now." I couldn't believe it was happening. Coming back home to Israel was the happiest day of my life. My dream came true. It was everything I thought about for every second, for every day, for 246 days. Even today, there are moments I cannot believe that I'm safe. Standing here today is a miracle made possible by heroes like Arnon's Mora, who gave his life to save mine. His wife Michal asked everyone to remember Arnon not only as a hero, but as a person of values, a charming, loved, pure person, and a perfect father. And this is how we will always choose to remember him. May his memory be a blessing. So as I stand here with you today, I said, this is nothing short of a miracle, but my journey is far from over. My partner Avinatan is still in captivity. Until he and the 58 other hostages come home, I'm not truly free. Last week, I was stand on the red carpet as one of the Time 100 most influential people in the world. I'm honored to be among such an impactful group of people. But as I told the audience there, I'm physically here, but my heart is still in Gaza. A year ago, I didn't know if I will ever make it out alive. I was lucky. I was rescued. But Avinatan and all the hostages need to come home. Until their return, I'm not truly healed. 59 families in this endless nightmare. Everyone in this room can help bring them home. I want to say thank you to AJC who stand with me and all the hostages from the first moment. AJC was fighting for my return while I was in captivity. And now, AJC fighting for the return of Avinatan and all the hostages. AJC was being one of the strongest partners in this fight. And for that, I want to say thank you. After losing my mother and so many of my friends that been at the Nova Music Festival, and also friends who are fighting in the war to protect our country, I hope that we could be able to dance again. I hope that all of our hostages will have the chance to meet their loved ones as much as my family got the chance to get me back. I ask you, please use your voice. Please use your influence. Help make sure that the world doesn't look away. We need them home, now, before it's too late. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Adi and Yael Alexander.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yael, and this is Adi, and we are Idan Alexander parents. We would like to share with you a short segment of a video that Hamas released 2 weeks ago, right before Leil HaSeder.
אני החייל עידן אלכסנדר, ואני אסיר בעזה כבר יותר מ-551 ימים. אף אחד לא רצוי, ואתה משאיר אותנו כאן. אני כבר הגעתי למצב של שבירה, בגלל הגועל של העולם ושל ממשלת ישראל. הנשיא צרף, אני באמת האמנתי שאתה תצליח להוציא אותי מפה בחיים. למה נפלת על השקרים של נתניהו? תגיד לי למה. למה אני היום פה סובל בלילות מסיוטים? כל יום אני שומע את הקול של אמא שלי, של אבא שלי, של אח שלי הקטן, כל יום אני שומע את הקול שלהם. למה אני היום פה? למה?
569 days, think about that. 569 days of families living a nightmare. 569 days of our loved ones have been held captive. That's far too long. And every day that passes makes the situation worse. They are weak, they are suffering, and now, as the intense heat of Middle Eastern summer bears down on Gaza, the physical and mental state is getting worse rapidly. This alone should scream urgency to the world. But there is a truth that cuts even deeper, a truth that fuels our plea. The people holding our sons, our fathers, they do not value life. It is the hardest thing I will ever say, but I might say it now. Hamas doesn't care if they live or die. This brutal reality is why every single second counts. Idan and 58 others held captive are in a constant danger of being killed or lost in the rubble forever. Their lives, their very dignity, means nothing to those who hold them. They need to come home now. We are talking about 59 individual human beings. We need a clear and firm strategy to bring all 59 home. And yet, all we hear, the most hopeful scenario, often involves the release of just a few more. That is not enough. We need the Israeli and American governments to demand and work towards the release of every single hostage. And here is a difficult truth we must face. We do not currently have a strategy to bring every hostage home because that would require ending the war. And the Israeli government, as this stands, is not willing to end this war. So I ask directly, government of Israel, if ending the war is not the path you will take right now, then what is your strategy to bring all 59 hostages home? What is the plan that guarantees they safe return? Finally, let me share one last painful truth. Politics has become a barrier. The lives of these hostages have not been made the absolute priority they must be. To the leaders of America and Israel, this is not a time for political maneuvers. This is a time for true leadership. Rise above political consideration, prioritize human life, devise and execute a plan to bring every single one of our loved ones home. Every day we wait is a day they suffer more. Every day we delay is a day we risk losing them forever. The time for action is now. Thank you.
Please welcome Ruby and Chagit Chen.
Good evening, everybody. We are the parents of Itai Chen, Ruby, and Chagit, a U.S. citizen held by Hamas for over 569 days. I am a proud New Yorker, born and raised in the city. We have here New Yorkers here with us. There we go. Here we are, some New Yorkers. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the American Jewish Committee for inviting us. And I want to say a big thank you to the AJC leadership team, Ted, Julie, Jessica, Houston, God knows so many more, for being in our corner for almost 20 months, helping us coordinate hundreds of meetings in the White House and Congress, and never letting us feel that we are standing alone when going into Washington. So give a big thank you, AJC. So I moved to Israel, met my wife. We decided to build our home in the city of Netanya, about 10 miles north of Tel Aviv. We have 3 sons. Itai is the middle sibling. Our eldest just finished IDF service in a technology unit. Our youngest son, Alon, actually had his bar mitzvah a week after, October 7th. Itai enlisted into the IDF, joined the tanks division, and was stationed at a base called Nahal Oz on the border of Gaza that fatal Saturday morning. He and his team were mobilized. They fought for a number of hours, protecting Israeli civilians from being murdered by these savages. But after a couple of hours, no backup, their tank was neutralized, and 3 of the 4 tank members were taken hostage. The 4th one actually was killed, pinned down in the tank, and brought to burial a few days after. That ended the battle of Itai and his team members. But then a new battle began. The battle of 241 families, a battle to bring our loved ones back home, because the government of Israel, unfortunately, have not prioritized this goal of bringing all the hostages out, but prefer to dismantle Hamas before that. And we've heard that, unfortunately, from Israeli cabinet members, even publicly, the last week. And we even had a cabinet member here in the United States this week say the same thing. And it's very simple, folks. Total victory does not happen only until the last hostage comes out. When President Trump won the election, we felt a renewed sense of hope. We believed in his leadership, his strength, and personal concern for American hostages would lead to real movement. And I deeply thank President Trump for demanding the release of all the hostages, even before his inauguration, that brought out the release of 33 hostages, including 2 U.S. citizens. At the same time, it has been almost 100 days since the new U.S. administration took office with the clear policy of America First. For American families like mine, families whose loved ones are still being held by Hamas, we prayed that we would already have seen additional results for this policy. But my son, Itai Chen, a dual U.S. citizen, remains still in captivity. So do other 4 American citizens. We just heard from Yael and Adi of their son, Idan Alexander. We have here in the audience the parents of Omer Neutra, Oren Ronen, with us today. And we have Judy and Gadi Weinstein from Connecticut that are also hostages, as well as other 54 hostages still in Gaza. Every day that passes by without their return is another day of anguish, uncertainty, and pain. And we wake up each morning with the same simple dream. We get a call from the White House saying, Mr. Chen, Mrs. Chen, we want to say to you, your son is on his way back home. And we hope that day comes soon. I believe that President Trump cares profoundly, but the truth is, the first 100 days of his administration have not delivered what the President himself demanded. The release of all of the hostages, including the U.S. hostages as well, and sending a clear message to terrorist organizations anywhere that holding U.S. citizens anywhere is a liability, not an asset. And that the United States needs to say that American lives are not bargaining chips to be used. As the weeks pass, the fear grows that the window to bring our loved ones back is narrowing and will disappear forever. We have seen this administration act boldly on other areas to implement the American First policy. For example, when it comes to economic policy, tariffs and financial pressure have already been deployed as tools of American strength. We need to apply similar pressure to release the remaining hostages. The U.S. is not just a facilitator in this conflict, but has direct equity in the form of Hamas killing on that day 45 U.S. citizens and injured hundreds more. Justice needs to be seen, and my family, as well as the other hostage families, have urged the administration, the Department of Justice, Treasury, to expand their efforts to bring out the hostages. President Trump is an extremely gifted negotiator. His team successfully released dozens of U.S. citizens from war zones with direct negotiations. And I urge from here President Trump to directly negotiate himself for the release of the U.S. citizens in Gaza, rather than use third parties, such as Qatar, to negotiate for the release of these U.S. citizens. In January, we saw what the President's direct involvement can do to release the hostages. I'd like to close my remarks by asking you to remember one word: unity. The Jewish people have prospered and survived for over 5,000 years on the principle of taking care of one another and not leaving anyone behind. This unity has been missing in Israel, and I urge the members of the AJC to take a stand and be more vocal in demanding the Israeli government show the required unity which has been the backbone of the Jewish faith for so many years, prioritizing the release of all the hostages and setting a target. We want to know when the last hostage is coming out. It needs to be by the end of May, and work backwards, knowing that there is a difficult price to pay for the release of the last hostage. But this is what is required to allow Israel to begin the healing and start a new chapter of rebuilding of its future. I would like to end with quoting a great American, Martin Luther King, in his famous speech, "I Had a Dream." He used the phrase, he coined the phrase, "the fierce urgency of now." The fierce urgency of now. And that is what we today are asking you, ladies and gentlemen. Think of the urgency of now. Ask yourselves and challenge yourselves, what can you do to help bring out the hostages? Those of you living in the United States, I urge you, when we leave here, go call up your senator. Go call up your congressman. Ask him, what have you done today to bring hostages out? If you're from Europe, call your parliament member. Ask the same thing. And end that question by saying, I'm going to call again the next day and the next day until we see all of these 59 hostages coming out. Bring them home now. Bring them home now. Thank you very much.
Before I get to the official welcome, excuse me, before I get to the official welcome to Global Forum, I want to thank Noa, Adi, Yael, Hagit, and Ruby for sharing their stories, for allowing us to lift up their voices so that their loved ones can come home, and so that every single hostage can be reunited with their families. AJC, all of us in this room, will not rest until Avi Natan, Idan, every single hostage is home. And here's, Ruby, for you, for all of the speakers we just heard from, bring them home is not a slogan. It is a call to action. 569 days is too many. It is time for us to bring them home. It's the message for everyone in every corner of the world. No more yellow pins, no more dog tags. We can get rid of them when we bring them home. Thank you for being with us. Bring them home now. Now, I can officially welcome all of you to AJC Global Forum 2025. Over the next 2 days, we'll be part of something inspiring, a gathering of more than 2,000 passionate advocates, leaders, allies from all across the world, united by our commitment to the Jewish people, to Israel, and to a shared vision for our future. It's a vision where Jewish people are safe and thriving, and where Israel's place among the nations is secure. And whether we're discussing issues in the United States or around the world, we will continue to navigate this moment together with action, with partnership, and with purpose through AJC's uniquely powerful brand of global Jewish advocacy. Because the challenges that the Jewish people face are global. And AJC is unique. With our global footprint on 6 continents, we are leading the global response. We'll continue building relationships with leaders in government and education and business and civil society. We'll work hand in hand with like-minded individual leaders and organizations who share our passion for a positive Jewish future. And as we begin Global Forum, I want you to think about your answers to two questions. Who were you when you walked into this room today? And who will you be when you leave Global Forum on Tuesday? Because these next few days have the power to transform not just what we know, but how we advocate, how we live boldly and proudly as Jews everywhere in the world, and how we are creating that world where Jews in Israel thrive. We will wrestle with hard questions about anti-Semitism, about education, about politics, and we will do it with purpose and with respect. And most importantly, we will leave here with more ways, more tools, and more opportunities to change the world for the better, consistent with AJC's mission of advancing the well-being of the Jewish people, Israel, and democratic values in the United States and around the world. We will be different when we leave here. We will be stronger. We will be more resilient. We will be the leaders that the Jewish people and Israel need us all to be right now. The energy in this hotel, the energy in this room is incredible. And I cannot wait to harness it for the good of Israel and the Jewish people. Thank you for coming to Global Forum 2025. So I mentioned our work with organizations that share our passion for a positive Jewish future. And I'm honored in a moment to invite to the stage my friend Dr. Robert Williams, the CEO of USC Shoah Foundation, to announce an exciting new partnership, one that will shape the way that we remember and educate generations to come on anti-Semitism. Dr. Williams. So, 2 weeks ago, I sat with my family at Passover Seder, recounting the Exodus story and the Jewish people's journey of leaving slavery to become a free nation. And just like our family, Jews around the world had their own Seders, guided by the text of the Haggadah, which means to tell. The Jewish faith is rooted in the act of telling, of passing on our stories, stories of joy, stories of challenge, stories of resilience, and yes, stories of persecution. In the face of resurgent anti-Semitism and the horrors of October 7th, sharing the experiences of our people takes on renewed meaning. Anti-Semitism today has reached a tipping point here in the US and around the globe. And at AJC, we have long utilized research, policy, and advocacy to address this hatred. But it's not just our faith and culture that impresses upon us the need to preserve and share our stories. It's data. Data has shown that one of the few things that really works to change people's perceptions about Jews and anti-Semitism is hearing our own personal experiences, our testimony. And it's for this very reason that the American Jewish Committee understands the moral obligation we have to capture the experiences and testimony of this pivotal moment in Jewish history. And there is no one better as a friend and partner in understanding that imperative than Rob Williams and his team at the USC Shoah Foundation.
Ted, thank you for that and for your tireless leadership in the global effort to protect Jewish life, both in moments of crisis, but also clarity and peace. You know, the USC Shoah Foundation at the end of the day is a promise that the voices of Holocaust survivors will be shared for the betterment of humanity in perpetuity. Today, our archive holds more than 61,000 testimonies, and we have offices both in LA and DC, making us the world's leading institution dedicated to recording, preserving, and using testimony. We do so to remember the past, sure, but also to educate for the future and to counter anti-Semitism, hate, and the erosion of our common dream for a world where crimes like the Holocaust could never be possible again. We face a new moment in Jewish history, one marked by a level of anti-Semitism not seen since the 1940s. October 7th exacerbated an already growing pandemic of anti-Semitism that had claimed many lives over the course of the past decade. Sadly, the concerns of the victims have often been met with silence or with lies, making clear the urgency of our work. Because anti-Semitism did not end with the Holocaust. We have an obligation to document, preserve, and share how these crimes continue to affect people today. In doing so, we'll be able to better ensure that experiences like these are never lost.
Gathered at Global Forum this year, as every year, are Jews from all around the world. We are honored to invite up 3 of them who will share their testimony. Please join me in welcoming Daniel Pomerantz from Buenos Aires, Susan Stern from Connecticut, and Antoine Hagenauer from Paris.
My name is Daniel Pomerantz. This is my testimony. On July 18, 1994, I survived the Armenia bombing when Hezbollah terrorists struck the institutional heart of Argentina Jewry in a deadliest attack in my country's history. The terrorists killed 85 and injured 300. These were my friends and colleagues. They were Argentinian Jews and Argentinians of all backgrounds. 31 years later, those responsible for orchestrating that horrible day, for attacking my place of work, my community gathering place, and for murdering and maiming dozens, have still not been brought to justice or held accountable for their crimes.
My name is Susan Stern. This is my testimony. In the late 1980s, I ran for local office in my coastal Connecticut town. Like any other candidate, I faced opposition, but what I encountered was different. A wide-scale phone campaign telling people, don't vote for the Jewish slate. I was the only Jewish candidate. The Whisper campaign became so widespread that a minister in the local church courageously preached against it in his Sunday sermon. After the election, I could no longer ignore and brush off the undercurrents of anti-Semitism, including a swastika drawn in front of our home. Hoping to shield our young son, my husband and I made the difficult decision to pick up our lives and move.
My name is Antoine Hagenauer. This is my testimony. In February 2025, I was attacked in the streets of Paris, France, because I was attending a peaceful memorial to mourn the brutal deaths of Shiri, Kfir, and Ariel Bibas. I was berated, told I supported genocide. I was threatened. They told me they would follow me home, leak my address, kill me and my family. I was assaulted, punched in the head from behind. When I reported the attack to a police officer, he told me, you could press charges, but what would be the point?
Thank you, Daniel, Susan, and Antoine. What you all experience is far too common, but far too people know what we, as a Jewish community, have endured. That's why today I am proud to announce that AJC is joining with the USC Shoah Foundation to build what will become the largest video collection of testimonies of survivors of contemporary anti-Semitism, covering anti-Semitic incidents from post-Holocaust to the present. The USC Shoah Foundation is already home to more than 61,000 testimonies of survivors and witnesses of the Shoah, contemporary anti-Semitism, the Armenian genocide, and other mass atrocities and genocidal crimes from the 20th and 21st centuries. AJC will contribute to the USC Shoah Foundation's ambitious and visionary goal of collecting 10,000 testimonies of contemporary anti-Semitism. Our collaboration will give voice to, document, and pioneer a new way to map anti-Semitism today. This multi-year effort will amplify the experiences of Jews across the United States and around the world because it is personal testimonies like the ones that you've just heard that are the strongest tools we have to help the world understand the impact of hatred, to put a face on the Jewish experience, and to combat anti-Semitism. And by capturing these testimonies, we are not only making an educational impact today, but also looking towards the future so our children and grandchildren will be able to live in societies free of this hatred.
Speaking personally, there's no better partner than Ted and the AJC for this initiative. Our cooperation marks a turning point, a bold, necessary message in the face of a global challenge. Together, we're launching a historic initiative to preserve Jewish voices from this moment with care, integrity, and a commitment to share and to educate. At the USC Shoah Foundation, we've spent the last 30 years building the world's most extensive archive of Holocaust and genocide testimony. And these are not just memories. They're tools for building better approaches to education, to scholarship, to understanding, and mutual respect. More importantly, they give the victims and the survivors a chance to speak in their own voices and in their own words. And when paired with emerging technologies, including multilingual transcription and global access, I can guarantee that testimony will resonate well beyond the interview room. By bringing this approach to our contemporary anti-Semitism collection, we are, as Ted said, planning to build a collection of at least 10,000 testimonies of experiences from 1945 across the world. We do this not just to prevent these memories from fading, but to ensure that others come to understand wisdom and kindness.
I'm so grateful to be here with you, Rob. Together, AJC and the USC Shoah Foundation are working to ensure the testimonies of some of the darkest days in contemporary Jewish history continue to be remembered and to inform our efforts to combat modern anti-Semitism in all of its forms. Together with the USC Shoah Foundation, we commit ourselves to learn from the past, to realize a brighter future for the Jewish people and the world. Thank you, Rob. All right. Rob, Danny, Susan, Antoine, thank you so much. We're very excited about this collaboration. We're very proud of what it will accomplish. In the next segment, we're about to zero in on the challenges that Israel faces. And we're going to do it with an incredible group of Israeli journalists. And you just heard on stage about how, whether in Israel or in the diaspora, we are all facing similar challenges and threats. But before moving on, I want to briefly talk about a particular challenge that is top of mind for many at this moment when the Jewish community is becoming alarmingly polarized and divided. For the Americans in this room, many of you are involved in partisan politics as Republicans or Democrats. But at AJC, we come together as one Jewish community to create a world where all of us thrive together. The issues facing the Jewish community are simply too important to be subject to partisanship. Anti-Semitism does not check anyone's party affiliation before it strikes. It affects all of us. So we all have to answer it together. Every president, yes, including President Trump, sparks strong feelings both within the Jewish community and America at large. As I explained in a recent Jewish Insider interview, it has never been AJC's role to be a cheerleader for or to join the resistance against any administration. Either approach would be negligent. We at AJC know that two things can be true at the same time, that we can and have praised this administration, any administration, for standing with our community and advancing policies that enable the Jewish community, Israel, and our democracy to thrive. And that we can and have respectfully and firmly raised concerns when we disagree with the administration's approach. That's what we have always done, no matter who is in the White House. Principled advocacy, never performative outrage, and never political partisanship. That's exactly how we've built trusted relationships across administrations and across continents and across generations. It's what's made AJC successful for nearly 120 years. Our community has been laser focused on the battle against anti-Semitism, which has surged since October 7th. We are grateful to the Trump administration for taking serious action to combat the scourge of anti-Semitism, especially on campus, full stop. We support the president using every legal tool to ensure that universities that did not protect Jewish students in the aftermath of October 7th take the necessary actions to protect Jewish students now. Title VI enforcement? Absolutely. Legal action when universities fail to protect students? Vital. We want the administration to succeed. At the same time, when the government unilaterally cuts funding to universities in a way that puts at risk life-saving research or pursues unrelated political goals in the name of fighting anti-Semitism, it risks backlash against the Jewish community, and we have and we will speak out. Countering anti-Semitism and upholding the rule of law, due process, and our shared democratic values are not mutually exclusive. They are inextricably linked. This reflects AJC's overarching approach to our work in the United States and around the world. We remain thoughtful, nonpartisan, and principled, especially in these hyper-polarized times. We can do both. We can express support and we can raise concerns. That's what principled advocacy looks like. And the work that we do and the way that we do it has never been more important. It's why you've come to AJC Global Forum for these 2.5 days. It's why we count on you to engage in AJC's powerful global advocacy. And this is what AJC does every single day, to stand up for Jews everywhere and anywhere around the world, and we always will. So I thank all of you for being with us today, and I say once again, welcome to Global Forum 2025.
I tell my girls, you need to know who you are first to know what you're fighting for. And AJC will be the place for you because that's exactly what we do. We are standing up and fighting for a better and more secure world for the Jewish people. I am blessed to be the third generation involved in the AJC Atlanta chapter. My father, Steve Seelig, has been the most influential person. He prioritized fostering the younger generation and making sure that they always had a seat at the table. There's a Hebrew term, hineni. Hineni means here I am, and that's what I've always felt that my family has instilled in me. It's not just enough to write a check. We have to give of our time, our passion, our energy, and that's the way my family has embraced their legacy with AJC, and that is what I will take as I continue to try and be a leader in this organization. It is so important to me to invest in AJC because as I look at my three girls, they are my greatest motivation, and I want to make sure that I have a part in shaping the future and leave them a world that they can be proud and feel secure, not just locally, but in Israel too.
Please welcome AJC Executive Council member, Matthew Bronfman.
Thank you. In our efforts to create a world in which Jews and Israel thrives, a key component of AJC's global work is educating leaders in government, education, business, and civil society on the threats facing the Jewish people and the State of Israel. And in order to be impactful advocates for Israel, it is critical that we understand the Israeli perspective, which is why year after year at Global Forum, AJC continues to platform Israel's exceptional journalists. It's been 18 months since October 7th, the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. The pain of that day is still an open wound. And this afternoon, we are joined by three Israeli journalists who have had to keep their audiences informed through terror, war, and heartbreak. How do you report on the unthinkable? How do you cover the unprecedented? As a journalist, how do you tell a country, especially a country as small as Israel, that the worst has happened? How do you go live on air not knowing if members of your own family are safe or even alive? Needless to say, their jobs have not gotten any easier since that darkest of days. As we know, 59 hostages remain in Hamas captivity. The IDF's fighting in Gaza continues. Internal political divisions are boiling, challenging the solidarity that so many Israelis and Jews around the world felt after the October 7th attacks. They are debating the issues from the direction of the war against Hamas to the governing coalition's desire to overhaul aspects of the judicial system to whether members of the Haredi community should have to enlist in the IDF. Having spent most of the last 3 years living in Israel, I can attest to the fact that the Israeli media is famously pugnacious, never shying away from asking tough questions or getting to the truth, even during these difficult moments. Which is why it is my pleasure to introduce these three Israeli journalists who, in that same spirit, will give us a sense of the current mood on the ground in Israel and discuss the issues that are top of mind. So please join me in welcoming Nave Dromi, the host of Cabinet Friday on I-24 News and a columnist for Yediot Achonot, I can never say that properly, Asaf Lieberman of the Israeli public broadcaster Kan,
and Nurit Kennedy, current affairs and news host of Galei Zachal. Please welcome them.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I will coordinate this discussion, and I would like to first ask you, what is your greatest concern regarding to Israel's near and long-term future? Naveh, we'll start with you.
My greatest concern, I would say Iran. You know, we are here to speak about the disagreements inside Israel, but I think when it comes to the bottom line, if you will ask, most of the Israelis will tell you that the security issues are in the top of their concerns. So yes, I would say Iran, because I think we somehow got a control over Gaza, the northern border, and whatever which is closest to us.
Asaf?
We can deal with Iran, I think. And what worries me the most is the fate of, it's a short-term and a long-term issue as well. The fate of 59 hostages still held by Hamas in underground Gaza. 24 of them are still alive. And I'm saying still because we heard Noah. That was amazing. We can't tell what's going to be tomorrow. And if we don't act now, they could die there, slowly and painfully. And we need to act, but I think it's a long-term issue as well, because it's not just about them, it's about us. I mean,
in what way it's about us?
It's about us because we formed a country, a nation, on the idea of solidarity. That's the core issue. That's what brought us together, the Israelis and the Jewish people as a whole. I mean, why are you here? Why did you invite us, Israelis, to talk about the Israeli challenges? You could bring here, I don't know, Canadian. No, there is a war with Canada right now. Sorry.
Not to mention
not Canada, not Canada.
Maybe Greenland.
We have a bond. The Jewish people have a bond. The Israelis have a bond. It's not just sentimental. I heard the president of this organization saying that he was in tears when Noa Argamani came back. But it's not just sentimental. It's not just about feeling. It's about national security. We send our kids to the army on the idea, on knowing that the country will do everything that it takes. We send them and we will get them back.
And the country is doing it. There are right now, while we are speaking, there are soldiers in Gaza fighting in order to bring the hostages back. We just heard 2 days ago how the Hamas leaders are speaking about a bit differently because of these soldiers, because of the solidarity of the families that send in their soldiers to Gaza in order to bring the hostages back, because not me, not you, not even our prime minister will succeed to do it if not those soldiers. So the solidarity is happening every day in every hour.
I agree. Just want to put it in the right direction. I mean...
Of course. Your direction.
Of course. I appreciate Naven, I appreciate her opinion, but we need, first of all, agree that we can't leave them behind.
Of course.
Right?
Did you hear
the
some?
question is, no. The question is...
I want to make it clear. If we leave them behind, something fundamental will change in the Israeli society, in the Israeli public.
Okay.
And we need just to acknowledge that we have to bring them home, and we can't leave them behind.
No one will say that we need
but there is no disagreement about
this stuff. There is no argument about that. I think the argument is about what is the best option and what is the best way to bring them back. And maybe the Israeli government thinks...
This is the test. This is the test for the Israeli solidarity. What are we willing to do to bring 24 hostages alive back home to their families?
So the next question is, Are we doing enough? Is the Israeli government doing enough? 70% of the population in Israel agrees in almost every poll that the most important thing is to bring them back home, to bring the hostages, even in the cost of stop now the war against Hamas. And the question is the government of Israel is doing her best, everything that can be done to bring the hostages back?
I have an answer for this. I don't know if you're aware of the Israeli media, but there is Ulpan Shishi, Channel 12 with Dani Kushmaro. 2 weeks ago, they had a poll. Are you support or are you against bringing the hostages back and stop the war now? The results were very, very clear. Like 70% was in support and 30% were against, approximately. The day after, a Telegram channel of a guy named Abu Ali Express, by the way, in the Ulpan Shishi poll, is approximately hundreds of people.
That's the way
now Abu Ali Express is a scientific poll?
That's the way we're asking the public now?
Yeah.
Through Abu Ali Express in Telegram?
But what you are doing now, the way that you are handling this is how you make your argument very populist.
Why?
Because it's very easy to sit here and say, bring them home, no matter what is the cost. But will you take responsibility of what will happen? Will you take responsibility of another October 7?
Come on,
or is
October
just
7
a populist password? But I will finish my argument. Because in this channel, in Telegram, which was only 40,000 people taking a part in this poll, which was much bigger than Channel 12, he was mentioning, what does it mean to stop the war now? Leaving Hamas in Gaza, leaving a weapon for Hamas in Gaza, and 70% of the people that participated were against it, and all of them want the hostages back home.
Just one question.
So saying those
this is a dialogue, and I'm coordinating it. So this is the most populist thing is to talk only yourself.
But before the dialogue, there is always a monologue.
No, just one question. If we all agree that we can't leave the hostages behind, what is the government strategy to bring them back?
Well, I'll tell you what I think. I belong to the group of people in Israel, which there are many families of hostages families that thinks that the government should put more efforts, military efforts on Gaza, and that there is not enough military. So? I don't think.
So that's your opinion. But does this government has any strategy to bring them? That's your opinion. Are we going to that direction?
I hope so. I hope so.
I don't think that after a year and a half, a hope is enough. I think we should see a strategy. And only in the past few days, we heard reports about how the ministers are now complaining about the new chief of staff. He's not aggressive enough. His predecessor wasn't aggressive enough, so they chose him. Netanyahu said, oh, I was waiting to appoint you, and now he is not aggressive enough. So where is this war heading?
First of all, I want to say that we don't have a legitimacy or the privilege to give up hope, Nurit.
You're right. Hope is
not in Israel and not the Jewish people. I think hope is a word.
Yeah, this is very true, but the hostages need much more than hope right now. They need action. And as we saw, the military action brought, of course, Noa back, and we are all thankful, and few more. But most of the hostages returned by a deal. And to fight with Hamas, we can always fight.
And let me answer you with a question. If you ask the Biden administration's people, what will they say to you? Who was the one that time after time said no to a deal, Israel or Hamas?
You have, of course, the answer. So
what is the answer? Okay, thank you. Rest my case.
Okay, so... But what Hamas wants, maybe...
What Hamas wants to eliminate Israel.
So what you're saying that this is Israel's strategy? To keep on going, not going on a deal, and in order to demolish them, but can we do that?
Can you continue the war?
Yes, can we demolish Hamas and still get our hostages back?
We have to bring them back. We have to continue the war. We have to eliminate Hamas. We have to do all these things.
Okay. Even in the cost of the hostages?
It's not one on the expense of the other.
That's right, but because it's an ongoing war with
Louis,
Hamas. What do you think?
I have a news flash for you. The war is stuck.
It's stuck.
It's stuck. It's not me saying that. It's Bezalel Smotrich, which is not a left wing in Israel, is a senior. How familiar are you with Israeli politics? Do you know all that?
They are.
You know?
I think they do.
They are?
I think Bezalel Smotrich, they know who is.
Osher Shkalim, you know who is this? But Bezalel Smotrich, it is very interesting to listen to him giving an interview in the last few days. And he said, the war is stuck. We're not heading anywhere. And he said that he told Netanyahu, the excuses are over. I mean, Bezalel Smotrich doesn't want what I want. He wants to conquer Gaza, and he wants to put a military government, Israeli military government there. Okay, that's his idea.
And to build settlements.
And to build settlements, and I guess Nave wants pretty much the same thing. But I don't think that that's what Netanyahu wants. And Smotrich has said, he told Netanyahu, the excuses are over. You always blamed the Biden administration, and you blamed the former chief of staff, the former chief of the IDF. The excuses are over. It's all about you. And the poll that you quoted is important because Netanyahu always has been a consensus leader.
Netanyahu was a consensus? When?
No.
No.
Not now.
Listen, I guess you read his book, his autobiography. And
not all of it.
You should. You should. It's a fascinating document because he explained there for the first time why did he release more than 1,000 terrorists from prison to release Gilad Shalit. What was the answer? You know that? He wanted a consensus in Israel that he can attack Iran. And he said, I want everybody to be behind me when Israel attacks Iran. Well, we didn't attack Iran, if you know that. But Netanyahu can't go against the public. And when you say that this is the poll, Netanyahu knows that. And he knows that the Israeli public won't back him up when he tried to conquer again Gaza while we have 59 hostages. But Smotrich, on the other hand, is saying to him, so what are we doing? You held a country, a whole country in a state of war when there is no war.
The war dragged on, and the
economy is still stuck, and the Miluimnikim are still in Gaza. Reserves is not a nice word.
Yes, it's not a nice word,
the Miluim in Hebrew.
But okay, you were mentioning that Netanyahu was a consensus leader, so is he still doing what consensus want, or he has a policy, or what leads him now, Nave?
You know, there is a sentence in Israel that we hear it as a journalist many times, that we are saying in the studio that if you take two people like Asaf and I and Urit and I and put us in a room, then we can agree about 80% of the things. You're familiar with this sentence. It's not true. It's not true. We won't agree even, it won't happen. We can agree about, if we speak about personal life, it would be very interesting.
So what about what's leading Netanyahu? Can we agree on that?
But I think, I don't know Netanyahu personally. I don't know what his strategy. I think Netanyahu...
He doesn't call you after you broadcast your Friday night?
He calls me every day. He sends me text messages.
No, because he does call some journalists and
yeah, I know it's common to think.
With them.
I know it's common to think that some of the right-wing journalists are getting text message from Netanyahu or some of his family members to say what we say in the studio. In my case and other friends of mine, it's not true.
You should check yourself.
I should check myself, yeah. Okay. But I will tell you that. So sometimes I think I have this suspicion that maybe Asaf getting a call and not me from Netanyahu. Because Netanyahu, this is something that we can agree about. Netanyahu likes to speak sometimes with the journalists that disagree with him, right? We can agree about that.
He used to like to do that. Now I don't think he does that.
Yes.
So what do you think is leading him? Get to the point, please.
I think Netanyahu.
She's tough.
This is why I am the moderator.
I think Netanyahu, what I think, I am sure that Netanyahu, like other leaders, I'm sure that Benny Gantz wants Israel to win the war.
We are talking about
wants the hostages back. What?
Not Benny Gantz. Netanyahu is the prime minister right now.
Yes.
For a long time.
I'm sure that he wants the hostages back. He wants to eliminate Hamas, and he wants to.
What is leading him? As Asaf mentioned,
what is leading him?
The war is dragging on.
When you say the war is...
Keep the war dragging on like this.
On October 8th, not 7th, on October 8th, how many years did you think this war is going to take?
Because this is
not
take months.
Just a second.
Not 2 years.
Not 2 years?
No.
2 years is not enough.
No, they said...
No.
Asaf,
no, this is not protective edge. This is not a Amud Anan. This is not a pillar of defense. This is something different. On October 7, we woke up to organization that trying to eliminate us. It's not another operation.
Okay, so you're saying...
And I want to say another thing. When Asaf said before about conquering Gaza, if you ask today Israelis about the immigration plan of Trump, of Gazans from Gaza...
There is no plan. It's an imaginary plan.
Is not the
there is no plan.
It's a nice dream for him, but it's not going to happen.
Again,
no,
I want to say it again. We need to have a hope that this plan will happen. And most if
this is a fantasy. This is a fantasy.
The Zionism was also a fantasy.
I also hope a unicorn will be
somebody did something about it.
Bill.
And we need to do something about it.
So if, as you're saying, the war...
But what I'm trying to say...
Neve, just a second. As you're saying, the war is keeping on, right? We are keeping the war. We still have Iran. Maybe we will have a confront, maybe not. And we need to control our security problems, right? So the IDF is now facing a severe problem of the reserves, the miluim, as you call them.
Reserves in Hebrew is like reserva.
Yes,
and
it's something that you need to keep there only when you need.
Like to change
but
the
I'm in
wheel.
the same pose of my body,
yes.
so I need
okay, so we have the reserve, they're exhausted. We have people who are in their duty, their military duty service. They're being sent to Gaza after 4 months of training, and that's all. We also have a tremendous number of casualties of October 7, and all this collides with legal timeline of a necessity to legislate the law that will somehow settle the issue of the enlistment of the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox youngsters. Of course, the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox politicians are really against that, and they also threaten to leave the government and to lead to another elections, while in the public there is a very heated debate about this. How is this going to end? Will there be a law that will commit the Haredi youngsters to go to the army, or maybe the government will fall over this?
You know how it's going to end? I'm
what do you think, Neve? Short, please be short.
I'll try, because I still own an answer from the other question.
No, but we don't have time. We just got so little time.
That this war is going to be long. We do need to believe in the immigration plan, and the Israelis are not the same before October 7 as they are today. And because it's going to be a long war, I think something has to change about the Orthodox Jews in the IDF. And I think something has to change in a way that we push them to be in the army like it worked before. And not with the law, just a second.
Not with the law.
Not with the law, because as we saw in the past,
the
law did the other effect, the negative effect. We should bring sanctions like on every other person that doesn't go to the army, and we should give benefits to people that are going to the army. But I think a law won't be the solution.
But they get a lot of other benefits.
I just want to say that there is a law right now. While we speak, 80,000 Haredim, young Haredim, obligated by law to go to the army.
So why do we need another law?
And they break the law because this government doesn't tell them to enlist to the law.
She benefits them. They get more and more benefits.
We always speak about what will be when there will be a law, but there is a law now. Everybody needs to serve, and they don't serve.
So the question is not about a law, because you're saying there is a law.
77 years.
The question is about the enforcement of
77
the law.
years we talk about bringing them to the army with a dialogue. We'll be nice to them. Maybe they will come. Someone who deals with agriculture told me that if 77 years a tree doesn't give fruit, he keeps not giving fruit.
How many Orthodox Jews came in the last time?
In your opinion,
how many Orthodox Jews came in the past month?
Nave, is this issue going to lead us to an early election? Yes or no?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
What will happen, Asaf?
Of what?
With
Netanyahu doesn't do anything about the ultra-Orthodox conflict with the army, and he doesn't do anything about this war, and he is very bad of doing hard choices because he's afraid for his
Why did Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid, when they had a government without the Orthodox, why didn't they do a law?
I want to say something about Yair Lapid and Naftali Bennett.
They had a choice. They had no Haredim. They had no Orthodox in the government. Why they didn't do something?
I'll say something.
But they were only 1.5 years.
No, but they had 1.5 years is enough time to do a law.
I don't remember what I was trying to say.
Please, you wanted to say something about Lapid. You have 1 minute. Because I have another question.
No, but Netanyahu is afraid for his coalition, and we need to remember that we have a leader that is facing criminal charges. And that is something that changed his perspective and his ideology deeply. Since then, he was pretty much a center-right leader politically, and he made it
a right turn.
Very fast turn.
But you just said that it doesn't get the hard choices, not even the right-wing choices. So how can he one time be a center and the minute later he can be a right?
You don't think that his criminal charges are affecting his decisions?
No.
And his policy? No?
No.
Okay. Okay. So the people that...
Just one sentence about Lapid and Bennett. And I think that Nave will agree with me on this one. Maybe not the first part of my sentence, but I think that Israel has the worst government ever, in the worst timing of history. But
the worst opposition.
And here you can agree with me. We have the worst opposition ever.
Of course.
I mean, not just because they are not good with politics, they are not being any alternative to what is going on now. I don't know what is the vision of Naftali Bennett, which is supposed to be the opposition candidate for prime minister. So with that, we can talk together against these guys that you just mentioned.
As Nave said, that we can never give up hope, so I would like to finish with something maybe nicer. We are your guests here at the AJC, and in this hall we have people that rushed after October 7 to help Israel, to support Israel in any measure with donates and supplies and volunteerings, not only American Jewry, but world Jewry at all. And we are very grateful for that, so thank you. And for you. And I would like to ask you guys, do you think that the Israeli society and maybe even Israeli government changed the way she sees the world Jewry? Maybe she changed a little bit how she treats the Jews around the world. Asaf.
He looks at me because he got used that you are coming to me, that you're approaching to me first.
Sorry.
I think that something very crucial has flipped in the discussion in Israel, because a lot of things that need to be done this is the place to do them. I mean, the last time that the hostages were released, that's because of President Trump, not because of Prime Minister Netanyahu. And you have a very important role in our life, because the discussion is here. The decisions are made here. So you are very important, and I think that we all agree on that, that in many aspects of life, Israel is kept out of the room. The nuclear deal, you remember that the Trump administration had a direct talk with Hamas without Israel. So maybe American journalists are more important than us, and maybe you, as very important people here in the United States, are more important than the Israeli public.
Okay.
I think the connection between the American jury and Israel was always strong and became even stronger after October 7. I think as many Israelis changed their mind after October 7, also many American Jews changed their mind after October 7 regarding a Palestinian state, about a chance for any solution. But I have to say I disagree.
And also regarding American jury and their right to say what their opinions are about and what's happening in Israel.
No one ever said not to say something. There is expression of speech.
No, but Israel used to say, when you come to Israel and we share the taxes and the humidity, so then
but let me answer what you said before, when you said that decisions are being made here. I think it's very dangerous saying. Are you giving up the choice of Israelis to make?
Netanyahu gave up the choice. That's the problem.
No.
Netanyahu wanted.
Asaf, can you have one argument without the name Netanyahu inside?
Netanyahu is my leader.
How can you make any argument?
Netanyahu is the decision maker. He is the prime minister of Israel.
Asaf, the state of Israel and the Jewish state has more history and more. They are more meaningful than a person, and this entire speech, this entire time, you can't complete a sentence without the name Netanyahu. You just can't. Nothing about the state of Israel vision, the state of Israel purpose. What are we doing here? It's all about this person Netanyahu. What will you do the day he won't be a prime minister anymore? Do you have a vision?
Oh, I have an idea what he will do.
Of course. Of course I have a vision.
I don't think you have a vision because
you don't think that I have a vision?
No, because I think
that's very mean things to say. Do you know me and my ideas
guys,
about the future of Israel?
It's not a personal argument.
Because it's not a personal argument.
Your support of Benjamin Netanyahu is leading us to a very bad place. Yes, we need to say it.
Okay, that's okay. You can say it.
Naved Romi, Asaf Lieberman, I will conclude this discussion because we don't have time, and this please wrap up. So let's wrap up, and I'll just say that unfortunately we cannot do any discussion regarding Israel without the name Netanyahu. Thank you so much.
No, you can do it with the name Netanyahu, but you can't.
We finished.
But you can't make Netanyahu. You can't make Netanyahu your entire perception and world of. The way that you view things.
Okay.
Just can't.
Thank you so much.
Shalom, dear friends from Jerusalem, our eternal capital. It is such a great honor for me to address this year's AJC Global Forum and to thank you for your work advocating for the Jewish people, advocating for Israel, and advocating for the human values that matter. In this hour of turbulence and uncertainty, when so much has come into question, voices of clarity and courage have been the anchor and the adhesive that hold our societies in place. The AJC has been a powerful embodiment of this voice. Along with many partners, allies, and friends, this seasoned organization that has seen so much has heard in this moment a calling and stepped up forward to defend what is indispensable to our world, the basic values of justice and humanity. Since October 7th, you've stood up, spoke out, and mobilized to defend Israel's right to live in peace and security, to demand that our hostages be returned, and to advocate for the rights of Jews everywhere, from capitals to campuses, from schools to social media to city streets. Clearly, our work is definitely not over. waves of anti-Jewish and anti-Israel hate continue to contaminate campuses, institutions, online platforms, and the public domain, and to contaminate our shared world. In some quarters, Israel's very right to exist has become once again unbelievable, a loud and open question for debate. This message is therefore clear. There is no room for Jews within the family of nations. That is what they are saying. There's no room for Jews, period. It is a debate that is unrelated to politics or policy. It is rooted squarely in anti-Semitism, plain and simple, and it must be addressed as such, with no ifs and buts. Support for Israel should be shared by anyone who stands for the basic values of human dignity, of human life and liberty. We here are defending the free world, and it must run deeper than any party affiliation or political trend, because standing with Israel is standing with the values that underpin our civilization. Standing with Israel is standing with a strong and vibrant Israeli democracy against the darkness and terror of extremist regimes. And let me be clear, ours is a vibrant democracy that we must actively safeguard and protect. I want to take this opportunity to express my deep gratitude to AJC National President Michael Tickner and to AJC CEO, my good friend Ted Deutsch, for their tireless work on behalf of the Jewish people and the US-Israel Alliance. And I want to thank all of you. I end, together with you, with a dramatic call for the immediate release of all our hostages, till the last one of them. In this hour of ongoing and despicable crime against humanity, we must raise our voices and demand their immediate return. Free these innocent people. Let them go. Bring them home now. I thank you all, dear friends. Shalom. Toda rabah to all of you.
When you began your presidency in 2022, you knew that it was a critical time for the organization as we climbed out of the COVID epidemic and into the CEO transition. But no one could have predicted what lay ahead for the world, for AJC, and for all of us when you assumed this role. All of our lives were changed forever on October 7th. Your presidency and leadership had no choice but to pivot instantly. In the darkest times for our people, you've been a beacon of light, a guiding light for us all. Being a true champion of Israel has been a defining characteristic of your presidency, especially after October 7th. What is so special about your style of leadership, as you heard in the video and in many of our comments during the day, is that through it all, you never lost your menschy and calming demeanor. And you doubled down on your commitment to and passion for AJC, Israel, and the Jewish people writ large. Future generations will live in a safer world because of our collective work under your and Ted's leadership. Your incredible perseverance, your positive attitude, and your generosity of spirit have brought AJC from strength to even greater strength. And as we say when we finish each book of the Torah, we say, Chazak, Chazak, Nit Hazak, V'nit Hazek. So, Michael, that's you. And that's all of us arm in arm with you. On behalf of the entire AJC family, it's my absolute honor to present you with this very special gift, which we hope will remind you of AJC and of your unwavering commitment to what matters most. This exquisite paper cut was designed, thank you, was designed and created by Israeli artist Noa Argamani and reflects so much important symbolism, such as the dove, representing peace and tranquility, and a Star of David, which represents our pride as Jews and as admirers of the State of Israel. More than anything, this piece of art features the inspiring words of Hatikva, Israel's national anthem that so beautifully captures the Israeli spirit of resilience and, importantly, tikva, or hope. The inscription reads, Michael L. Tickner, with immense gratitude for your leadership in advocating for a safer world for the Jewish people and Israel, and most importantly, for giving us tikva, hope at a time of great challenge. Michael, you gave us hope and showed us how to embrace it and share it during these unimaginable times. There's no doubt in my mind that you will continue to give us hope in the many years ahead, bis 120, as you join me and our predecessors as a national past president. And now, my hope for you. First, I hope you can reflect on your presidency with immense pride for your many accomplishments, including building strong relationships with your AJC family. And second, but perhaps closer to home, I hope you can cherish some very well-deserved time with Karen, your children, and your beautiful grandchildren. So, on behalf of AJC, please come up to the stage.
I am speechless, but that has never stopped me from speaking. Thank you, Harriet. Your partnership, wisdom, and unwavering support has meant more than I can express. Leading this AJC community has been one of the greatest honors of my life. As I stand here tonight, marking the end of my 3-year term as AJC National President, I find myself filled with gratitude, humility, and most importantly, hope, a theme of tonight. When I stepped into this role, I did so with a deep belief in our collective responsibility, not only to uphold our values and traditions, but to shape a future that our children and grandchildren can inherit with pride. That future matters deeply to me, not just as a leader, but as a parent, grandparent, husband, and a member of the Jewish community. The work we do today is not just for the present, it is for future generations we may never meet, whose lives will be shaped by what we do today. It's for a world where our children walk freely and proudly as Jews, where they feel safe and seen and supported, where Jewish communities are not only surviving, but thriving, and where Israel's rightful place in the world is not questioned, but embraced. Even in the most challenging of times, everything we've done together has been rooted in a commitment to future generations. Each step we've taken has laid the groundwork for a stronger, more compassionate, and more resilient community. Yet, we cannot talk about that vision without confronting the challenges we still face. Our work is even more crucial following October 7th. Antisemitism is not a memory of the past. It is arising in ways that demand our unwavering courage and unity. It is said that silence or indifference to antisemitism is complicity. So we must continue to forcefully speak out, to educate, to advocate, and to build bridges across communities. The safety, dignity, and future of our people depend upon it. Since October 7th, I've had the opportunity to travel to Israel 3 times, the first time a few weeks after the horrific attack. I met with hostage families and said Kaddish with those who had lost loved ones. I stood alongside IDF soldiers. I saw the heartbreak. I saw the bravery. I saw resilience. I witnessed the unbreakable spirit of the Israeli people. And though those moments were filled with pain, they also gave me something else. They gave me hope. Hatikva, hope. The anthem of our people. It is not just a song, but a declaration. Because even in the darkest times, we do not surrender. Despite everything, we must remain hopeful, because hope is what drives action. When I accepted this role, I knew I was committing to a journey that included navigating a CEO transition. But none of us could have imagined how our world would change on October 7th. Through it all, I've been blessed with the support of an incredible team, AJC's devoted professionals, my fellow board members, and our unwavering donors and supporters. Your commitment has inspired me every single day. Thank you for believing in our mission and for the sacred work we do together. And most importantly, I've been blessed with the unconditional support and love of my wife, Karen, and my entire family. I am forever grateful. In conclusion, with Ted, alongside my dear friend and incoming National President Bobby Lapin, I know that AJC's future is in very strong and capable hands and will continue to flourish. Though my term as president is ending, my commitment remains as strong as ever. I will continue to stand with you, to work alongside you for peace, for the safety and security of Israel and the Jewish people, for the future we believe in and the one we will build together. Am Yisrael Chai, and bring them home now. Thank you.
AJC is the global advocacy organization for the Jewish people. Around the world, from Boston to Buenos Aires, from Athens to Amman, from Sydney to Seoul, AJC is there, working with leaders at the highest levels to support Israel and combat surging anti-Semitism. Through AJC's overseas posts in Jerusalem, Abu Dhabi, Paris, Brussels, Rome, Berlin, Prague, Warsaw, Budapest, Sofia, Johannesburg, New Delhi, Southeast Asia, Tokyo, and Sao Paulo. We engage in diplomacy with over 110 countries, and every day, AJC works with senior officials at the highest levels of the U.S. administration, the U.S. Congress, the European Union, and the United Nations. AJC's advocacy around the world is reinforced, amplified, and inspired by its 25 regional offices across the United States. In the U.S., we defend Israel and the Jewish people by creating diverse coalitions with ethnic and religious groups, strengthening diplomatic ties with consulates, building support for key policies with leaders at all levels of government, and training civil society leaders in business, at universities and in K-12 schools to understand the Jewish community and confront and prevent anti-Semitism. Since Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel, it's become clear that the Jewish people are facing global challenges. They demand a global response. AJC is proud to be leading this effort. Around the world, wherever Israel and the Jewish people need us, AJC is there, shaping a new and brighter future.
Please welcome Chair of AJC's Board of Trustees, Stephen Wish.
Shalom, good evening. It's so comforting for me to stand here as a proud Jew and as a proud Zionist in front of my AJC family. The past 18 months have been extremely difficult for all of us. And as I've always said for all my years at AJC, AJC is my oasis of peace and tranquility in a turbulent world. This recent Passover was very moving for me and all of us. Can I ask everybody in the back to please be quiet? Thank you, thank you. This recent Passover was very moving for me and all of us. My entire life, I have read the lines in the Haggadah, in every generation they rise up to destroy us. I always read this line more like it was historical poetry, but this year, even more than last year's Passover, this line was haunting to me. Not distant, not metaphorical, but real. What used to feel like a relic of the past is now the headline of our present. This year, it doesn't take imagination to understand what hatred looks like or what bondage means. October 7th and its aftermath continues to haunt and torment all of us. As Adi, Yael, Ruby, Hagit, and Noah expressed so powerfully, we desperately await the 59 hostages to be returned home. As our brilliant Israeli journalists panel demonstrated, Israel continues to face enormous threats, both from Iran and its terror proxies, and unfortunately from internal fractures. Here in the United States and around the world, anti-Semites have become emboldened, attacking our synagogues and our students, attempting to drive Jewish pride and Zionism underground. We will not let this happen. We as Jews are always optimists and realists at the same time. I and we will never lose hope for many reasons, but let me mention two. The first is that we, the Jewish people, are incredibly resilient. We always have been and we always will be. And it has been amazing to see the countless examples of how our people have rallied and even managed to amplify our Jewish pride. The second reason for hope is AJC. AJC, in my opinion, is the most important Jewish advocacy organization in the world. Our vision to ensure that Jews can live safely and proudly in their communities and that Israel's place in the world is secure. That is our vision. How do we execute our vision? We execute very well on this vision because we are the only Jewish organization that has a true global network with offices and partnerships across 6 continents. We've got boots on the ground, people on the ground. We're in daily dialogue with the most important, the most influential leaders in the world, in government, in business, in academia, and interfaith and interethnic communities. And very importantly, our core values that ground us at AJC include democracy, pluralism, rule of law, and nonpartisanship. And as Ted said, we could pursue both our vision and hold our moral values, which is so important to us as Jewish people and Americans. So many of us in this room have had the privilege of being a part of AJC's impact by engaging in advocacy and contributing financially. And on behalf of AJC, I want to thank each and every one of you. Without you, none of AJ's work would be possible. Tonight, I want to ask you to join me in thinking about the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead and how together we can meet this moment. And to illustrate this, I want to share a story of someone who has recently done just that by making a very generous investment in AJC's mission. Donnie Freem, a dedicated and passionate AJC Palm Beach board member, recently made a $1 million gift to AJC Don's gift is to support our global work of fighting anti-Semitism and strengthening Israel's place in the world. This gift establishes the Donald M. Ephraim Global Jewish Advocacy Award. Beginning at next year's Global Forum, AJC will present this award annually to an individual who has made a significant contribution to combating anti-Semitism, promoting Israel's legitimacy, supporting global Jewish communities, or fostering interfaith understanding. This pool of individuals will include alumni of AJC Project Interchange, one of my favorite programs at AJC. This extraordinary program has brought over 6,000 leaders from more than 120 countries to Israel and has literally changed the hearts and minds of opinion leaders around the world. It's an amazing program.
At a time when it can feel isolating to be a Jew, Don's vision ensures we can recognize and celebrate those who have been steadfast allies to the Jewish people. So please join me in expressing our deep gratitude to Don for his visionary gift. Don's act of generosity is inspiring, and I hope all of you will continue to give as generously as you can to AJC, and I encourage all of you to be AJC ambassadors and ask your friends and family members to give and get involved with AJC as well. We at AJC were approached a few days ago by an anonymous but very generous and wonderful member of the AJC family who offered to match any gift made during the Global Forum up to $1 million. So for every dollar you give starting now through the closing, an anonymous AJC donor will give an additional 50 cents to AJC. You give $1, $1.50 goes to AJC. You give $10, $15. You give $100, $150 goes to AJC. You can help us make this goal by speaking to an AJC staff member, using the pledge cards on the back of your program, donating online, or through the AJC Forum app, or the AJC website, or you can reach out to me personally. Together, I know we can meet this ambitious goal and raise $1 million over the next 36 hours to continue the impact of AJC's Global Jewish Advocacy. Let's all contribute to this match and help shape the future of Israel and the Jewish people. So now I'm pleased to introduce our next panel, which will very much illuminate the global challenges we have all been discussing. This evening, we're joined by leaders from Jewish communities in Latin America, Australia, and Europe, and these are regions where Jewish communities are facing distinct but growing challenges. AJC is honored to work with these communities as they confront these challenges. Together, our panelists will explore the importance of strengthening Jewish peoplehood and share how their communities are responding to this moment. I want you to please join me in welcoming the following folks. Joel Burney, who's the Executive Manager of Australia, Israel, and Jewish Affairs Council. Renee Dayan Shabbat, Executive Director of Mexico's Tribuna Israelita. Yonatan Arfi, President of the Representative Council of French Jewish Institutions. And our wonderful own moderator, Melanie Pell, AJC's Chief Field Operations Officer. I turn the baton over to you, Melanie. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's so lovely to be with all of you, and I want to thank our panelists for being here with us as well for this really important conversation. We have an incredibly distinguished group of speakers. We have all of you, and we want to dive right into this really important conversation. So I'd like to frame our conversation this way. There are a lot of terrible stories we could be telling, and maybe you will, and you're welcome to. We want to hear those, and we want to hear about the experiences of Jewish communities in your respective parts of the world. But let's also understand where we are today. We had a similar conversation a year ago. Here we are now, all these days after October 7th. And I think it's important for us to learn about and discuss what we have learned since then, what our respective governments are doing, what we can learn from that, and how we can lean into our sense of Kol Yisrael Avraim Zeh Bazeh, our collective global Jewish peoplehood and our sense of responsibility. So AJC is the global Jewish advocacy organization for the Jewish people, and these challenges are global. You represent different parts of the world. We have Australia, we have Mexico, we have France, and there are questions that remain. The experiences you all have are different, but there's a lot we need to learn about our sense of belonging, our sense of security, our sense of connectedness to our own countries. So let's begin with a little bit of a gut check, and we want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly from all of you. Because the good news is that not all the stories are terrible, and that's important for us to hear too. So Renee, let's start with you. We're going to go geographically closest to farthest. Mexico and the US are interconnected politically, economically, culturally. We certainly have seen a rise of anti-Semitism here in the United States. And tell us what the experience has been like for the community in Mexico.
Thank you, Melanie. It's an honor to be here this afternoon. Things in Mexico are very different. Anti-Semitism has never been manifested by physical threat or hostility or public hostility, but nevertheless, we are not immune to the global trends that happen to the rest of the world. Since October the 7th, we've seen an increase in anti-Semitic posts in social media and in media as well. And we also seen a growth in the pro-Palestinian, the small pro-Palestinian groups that are in Mexico, which they manifest themselves with demonstrations in front of the Israeli embassy and of the American embassy, and with cultural events. What's very different from the US, it's what happens in the universities in Mexico. We've had very few, I won't say that we didn't have any anti-Semitic incidents, but none of them have turned into a trend. And we had a couple of intents of encampments which did not succeed. For many, many years, the Jewish community has a strategy to have good relations with the universities, and since October the 7th, we did an approach with the deans of the universities, asking them to support us to have a safe environment for the Jewish kids. And we've done this, and with the help of the students and the authorities, we managed to maintain the level of anti-Semitism in the universities at a very, very low. We understand that things can change very quickly, so every day we analyze the strategy that we are doing, and we try to make all the changes necessary to be sure that we can still be safe in our country.
Thank you. Jonathan. The story in France may be a little bit different. And we've all been following the rise of anti-Semitism in France. What can you tell us about where things stand today?
Thank you, Melanie. I'm very honored to be here, and I will tell you some facts and figures about the situation in France. Well, I come before you not only as the president of CRIF, but also as a witness to reality in France, which should alarm any defender of democracy. I'm the voice of a Jewish community which has lost 13 members over the last 20 years. It is much more than the US compared to the size of the French Jewish population. We have a strong support from public authorities, to be honest, but we know that anti-Semitism does not come from the state today. It comes from part of the public opinion, part of the French citizens. This anti-Semitism has multiplied by 4 after October 7th compared to the year before. This year, every 3 days, one person is a victim of a physical assault due to anti-Semitism. Every 3 days. The phenomenon has also reached schools. That's something which is very important, and I want to share one figure with you. 1 out of 3 students in French schools refuse to be friends with a classmate who is Jewish and shows his support to Israel. It gives you an idea of the level of social rejection that young French Jews have to face in France. But I want also to be honest with you. We have a lot of allies in the French society. We have a lot of people understanding that this challenge is not only a challenge for the Jews, but a challenge for the whole French democracy. The fact is that this hatred is fueled by 3 ideological sources. You have the hatred of Israel with the far left. You have the radical Islamism, and you have the rise of conspiracy theories on the social networks. So we'll continue to fight. We'll never hide. We are proud citizens, and we will continue to fight against anti-Semitism in France.
Thank you. Joel, I think many of us here in the United States were really shocked to see the rise of not just anti-Semitism in Australia, but violent anti-Semitism with some really appalling incidents, things being set on fire, all kinds of vandalism, again, a really violent form. So help us paint a little, if you can, a picture for us of what's happening in Australia, and help us understand whether these are really perpetrated under the guise of so-called anti-Zionism, or are there other factors at play as well?
So thank you very much for having me. We've unfortunately seen all of the horrible scenes in Australia over the past 18 months, a problem that we never thought existed. The fact that I'm sitting here on this stage right now talking about an anti-Semitism crisis is in stark contrast to what we all thought Australia was for Jews. And realistically, it was a haven for Jews. In every aspect of Australian life, Jews were able to reach the lofty heights of any office, whether that be in politics, in law, in commerce, the arts, entertainment. It really was a utopian world for Jews in many respects. And then in the hours, literally the hours, not the days, not the weeks, but the hours after October 7, anti-Semitism spewed onto the streets of Sydney and Melbourne and other major cities. So we had the lighting of fireworks and celebrations on the streets of Sydney whilst the massacre was still ongoing on October 7 itself. We all remember the scenes at the Sydney Opera House on October the 9th, mere 48 hours after the invasion and the massacre began, where police stood by and watched as crowds chanted, "Kill the Jews, where's the Jews?" and lit Israeli flags on fire. They stood there and they watched while that happened. And since that day, over 18 months, we've had a gradual increase in the anti-Semitic incidents, but also in the gravity of those incidents, whether that be the violent tagging of a school with graffiti, Jew die, at the largest Jewish school in Australia. We've had synagogues under lockdown. We've had synagogues being firebombed and burnt down. We've had linkages with organized crime. In every single aspect of Australian society, Jews have really come up against it. So it's a significantly deeper problem than just in the guise of anti-Zionism. Australia has an anti-Semitism problem. It appeared to have been contained in a box before October 7, but when those Hamas terrorists came over the southern border, that box was unfortunately opened. And in the void of true leadership, which I know that we'll get to later in the panel, that problem was able to fester, and for the past 18 months, Australian Jews have been under siege.
Thank you. Let's talk then about the response and how governments are responding. And Renee, last year Mexico elected its first female and Jewish president. And although her Jewishness has not necessarily been at the forefront of her identity, it does speak volumes about the stature and status of Mexico's Jewish community and the society's respect for diversity. At the same time, of course, as you noted, Mexico is not immune to anti-Semitism. So how has the government, you talked about some of the civil society institutions, the universities and the relationships, what has the conversation been like with the government? And do you feel that the Mexican government is doing enough to ensure the safety and security of the Jewish community?
Mexico is a multicultural country with a straight separation between church and state. Say that the Mexican government, with the interest of supporting that all the citizens have the same equal rights, in 2003 established a law, again, an anti-discriminatory law that considers anti-Semitism as a discrimination act. And in 2023, they enacted a law prohibiting the use of Nazi symbols, even though in Mexico it's not such a big trend. Nevertheless, we've seen that sometimes the government supports, we have a very strong relation with the government. The Jewish community, we are around 45,000 people in a country of 130, and we have a proactive activity, and we have relations with all the churches, with the civil society, with media, with mass media, with academics, and with universities. And this has been very important for us. We have good relations with the law enforcement agencies, and we have been working with them to ensure that our institutions are safe. Now that I hear what you're telling about what happens in Australia, we seldomly have anything against any Jewish institution or community in Mexico. The government is very close with us. This is a strategy that we've been working for over 30 years. And we think that we have to keep on going. And to keep the safety of the community and the well-being, we have to continue working in a combination of 3 assets. One of them is a strong internal community, a strong internal organization, a very good communication with the authorities, and also good relations with the rest of the civil society. So then you can have the 3 parts of the chair, well, of a chair of 4, now it's 3, and to promote a very good situation for the Jews. We understand that this could change. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but the good relations that we have with the authorities have made it possible for us to talk to them, to be close to them, and when we've had problems, they always react, so we feel safe. There's other issues in the country, insecurity, drug cartels and everything, but as Jews, we have a safe life. You can walk in the streets of Mexico City with kippah, with tzitzit, whatever, and nobody would shout at you or nobody would do anything.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, Jonathan, the situation in France, not so simple either. There's a disappearing middle. We've seen this. We've seen extremism both on the right and the left. Do the Jews of France see their leaders taking positive action, or do they feel that the leadership sometimes is stoking the flames of anti-Semitism? How do you position yourselves with regard to your leadership?
Well, the political situation is complicated in France. As you know, we had elections a few months ago, both European and parliamentary elections in France, with results which poses some challenges for the Jewish community, because we have a strong minority from the far right and another minority, but quite strong, from the far left. The far left is very vocal against the Jews, very vocal on the war in Gaza, using that as a pretext, as an excuse to target Jews. So it's very difficult for us. The problem is that the far right instrumentalizes the fight against anti-Semitism to try to gain respectability in the political arena in France. So we have to fight the far left without, I would say, giving help in any way to the far right. And that's something very difficult, because now we have a moderate center, which is still a majority, but a very tiny majority. Everyone is very worried regarding the coming presidential elections in 2 years' time now, in 2027. And we know that the Jewish issue, the issue of anti-Semitism, will be at the center of the political debate in the coming month. And our goal, our main responsibility as Jewish institutions, is to make sure that Jews and the fight against anti-Semitism are not instrumentalized by anyone.
Thank you. Joel, Australia is having an election in a few days, May 3rd, and it appears there's this choice between the Labour Party and the Liberal Party. Can you tell us a little bit about the distinctions in the two parties and how they're approaching anti-Semitism? And we always welcome political predictions. It's, you know, it's always fun.
So I'll try not to be too technical, but you're right. We have an election coming up on Saturday, May the 3rd. Now, unfortunately, in terms of the real main part of your question, there is a divide between the current Labour government's position, especially on Israel, and a previous very long-standing bipartisan position. And that deviation occurred, it's very important to note, it occurred before the events of October 7, in actual fact a year beforehand, where the Australian government reversed its recognition of West Jerusalem. So when President Trump in his first administration recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, the Australian government followed suit by recognizing West Jerusalem as sovereign Israeli capital, and then the Labour government removed that actually on Simchat Torah, on a Jewish holiday, which caused great angst in the community. But since they came into power 3 years ago, there has been a steady departure from that long-standing bipartisan position, and many inside the Jewish community feel as though that subtle antagonism between Australia and Israel has also had a tangible impact on how the government has reacted to the anti-Semitism crisis in Australia. So this Labor government, by many inside the community, has failed to recognise the gravity of the anti-Semitic problem in time. We're ineffective in doing things at the first instance, which allowed the problem to fester and essentially put the Jewish community under siege, as I've said, for the past 18 months. There is a difference with the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party is vocally more, I would say, has a stronger position on Israel at the moment. To give you an example, this current government refuses to answer a question as to whether or not Prime Minister Netanyahu would be welcome in Australia whilst the ICC warrant is out for his arrest. As a steadfast friend of Israel, which has been a friend of Israel since Israel's establishment, that is an awkward place for this government to be. Currently on the polls, and I'm not going to predict the outcome, but currently on the polls, it looks like Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister, will be retained and the Labor Party will be back in power. However, there is a real opportunity that we fall into minority government, and again, not being too technical, that will mean that the Labor government doesn't have enough seats in the lower house to govern and will require minor parties to form a governing coalition in minority. The concern is that 13%, well, currently on primary vote, 13% of the Australian population votes for the Greens Party. The Greens Party is a toxically anti-Semitic party. So any opportunity for the Labor government to form minority government with a party like the Greens would ultimately make the position of the Jewish community in Australia far more difficult when it already is very, very difficult at this time.
Wow, thank you. We will be watching. So we really have about 90 seconds left. So we're going to do a lightning round for the last question. And that is really, we have this captive audience here. What can we be doing together to learn from one another's best practices, to really fight anti-Semitism together and really support the global Jewish people together? I'll start with you. Jonathan, please.
Well, first of all, being together here from different parts of the world is the best answer to anti-Semites from all over the world. Our unity is, I think, our strength, and we have to cultivate that, even if sometimes Israeli journalists seem to be to have some difficulties with that. But I do think that we have to share experience on the fight against anti-Semitism, and we do it with the American jury. We have done it for long, and we'll do it in a common forum, French-American forum against anti-Semitism in Paris with, between CRIF and AJC in June. So I'm very glad that we'll continue this dialogue in order to be fruitful against anti-Semitism.
Thank you. Joel?
So this is not my saying, but it's a good one nonetheless. On October 7, the diaspora community became a little bit more Israeli, and after October 7, Israelis became a little bit more like diaspora Jews. And what I mean by that is that we, in our communities, especially in Australia, we need to look towards Israel to see what the Israeli people did on the day itself and what they've subsequently done. Their strength, resilience, and their determination and their grit is something that we can look to and we can take to our own community, because the Australian community is not going anywhere. We are proud Jewish Australians. We are a strong community, and we will remain loud and proud. And I'll just give you a short story to explain that, and it would be very quick. I was in Israel only 3 weeks ago. I was sitting with a group of Australian journalists, non-Jewish Australian journalists, and we were meeting with hostage families. And the father of Omni Miran, Danny Miran, before we could even start, he looked at me and he said to me, "How are you doing? I hear all the bad things that are happening in Australia." And for a father who's had his son captive for well over 500 days, and with the anguish and the sheer pain that he is suffering, he within our own peoplehood knew of what the suffering of Australian Jews were like, to take the time and the presence to ask me that. That is the Jewish peoplehood in a story, and that's what we will continue to do. We will continue to be Am Yisrael, all in the same heart.
And Renee, you can close us out.
Melanie, I would like to share with you that our community, it's a very Zionist community. A big percentage of the members of the community have been in Israel. All our kids in junior high school travel to Israel, and they all know Hebrew. We invested a lot of resources in Jewish education. So we have 95% of our kids going to a Jewish day school, which gives us a low rate of intermarriage. And we are very Zionist, but we are very proud Mexicans, and we are very well integrated to the community. And I want to share with you that my pride that today we have 22 young adults of the Jewish community participating in the Global Forum. And that makes us very proud because they are one of a kind. And there's a sense of belonging in the Jewish community. It's like a Mexican Jewish DNA. And you were saying that what we are supposed to do to remain Jewish, and we think that we have to go in the same sense that we are doing. And I want to thank AJC, just to wrap up, AJC and Bila for allowing us to participate in this forum, because of course sharing experiences, learning what our communities are doing, is a very important thing for us in Mexico. And thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your leadership. We will continue to work with all of you and work together. And Am Yisrael Chai.
This concludes our plenary. Thank you for joining us.